Get out of my house. I am sick of the sight of you. My stepmother's voice wasn't raised. It was a controlled, frigid blade that sliced through the kitchen's evening quiet. I stood frozen, a dishcloth in my hand, staring at Sharon's perfectly composed face, twisted with disdain. My eyes flicked to my father, who was methodically drying a glass at the sink. "Dad?" The word was a plea, a lifeline. He didn't turn. He just kept polishing the same spot, his shoulders rigid, his silence a roaring, gutting void. In that moment, I understood everything. My name is Amelia. I'm 19, and my father had just chosen his wife over his only child. After my mother died when I was 12, my father retreated into a shell of grief, and then, with shocking speed, into the glossy, demanding world of Sharon. They married when I was 15. Sharon was a corporate lawyer with a taste for minimalist decor and maximal control. Our comfortable, book-cluttered home was sold. We moved into her sleek, cold-toned townhouse. I became a relic of a past life, a smudge on her perfect picture. My father, desperate for the comfort she offered, learned to look the other way. The digs about my bohemian clothes, thrift store finds, my unrealistic career goals, I wanted to be a writer, my very presence, they became our family's background noise. I learned to make myself small, to exist in the margins. The night of the eviction, the catalyst was absurd. A single cereal bowl left in the sink by Sharon's 16-year-old son, the golden child who could do no wrong. Sharon blamed me. When I calmly noted it wasn't mine, her composure snapped. It wasn't about the bowl. It was about my audacity to still be there, breathing her air, occupying space she had not allocated to me. "You contribute nothing but tension," she hissed, stepping closer. "You sit in your room with your books judging us. This is my home, and I want you out, tonight." I looked past her, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Dad, please." He finally turned. His eyes met mine for a fleeting second, a flash of pure animal anguish, before they skittered away, fixing on a spot on the stainless steel fridge. He cleared his throat. "Amelia, maybe it's best if you give Sharon some space for a few days." Space. The word was a universe of abandonment. His silence had been the verdict. Now, this was the sentence. I packed a single duffel bag, my hands shaking. My father hovered in the doorway. "It's just for a little while. She's under a lot of pressure at work." Where should I go? My voice was flat. "Your friend Chloe's? Or maybe your Aunt Patricia?" He said it like a suggestion, not a plan. He had no plan. He was just gently ushering me out of his new life. I spent 2 nights on Chloe's couch, surrounded by the warm, chaotic evidence of a functional family. The texts started then. My uncle: "Heard there was a blow-up. You need to respect Sharon's house, kiddo." A cousin: "Your dad says things have been tense. Try to be more helpful." Sharon had been busy, weaving a narrative of the moody, disrespectful stepdaughter making her home a living hell. My father, by his silence, had co-signed every word. When I texted him asking to talk, he replied, "Now's not a good time. Sharon is really upset." It was always about Sharon being upset, never about me being homeless. The final blow came a week later. The first tuition installment for my second semester was due. We had an agreement. He'd cover what my partial scholarship didn't. His text was blunt. "Can't do tuition right now. Things are tight. You'll need to figure it out." Figure it out. The 3 most terrifying, galvanizing words of my life. He wasn't just evicting me from his house. He was evicting me from my future to preserve the peace in his marriage. What they didn't know, what my father had never bothered to ask, was that the quiet girl in her room wasn't just hiding. She was building a fortress. A deep instinctual mistrust of Sharon had set me into motion years ago. While they dismissed my lofty dreams, I had been meticulously applying for every scholarship I could find, typing essays late into the night. I had a 60% academic scholarship locked in. My part-time job at the used bookstore wasn't just for spending money. I'd been squirreling away every other paycheck, amassing $8,500 in a secret account. I had copies of my birth certificate, social security card, and my mother's old jewelry in a small fireproof lockbox. I was a sleeper agent in my own life, waiting for the mission to begin. The final, crucial piece was my Aunt Patricia, my father's sister. She was a force of nature, a self-made graphic design studio owner with a sharp mind and a sharper sense of justice. For years, her comments had been coded lifelines. "Your ambition is refreshing, Amelia. This house feels a bit sterile, doesn't it? My guest room has a great writing desk, just saying." When I called her, voice trembling from Chloe's porch, she didn't ask for the story. She said, "Give me the address. I'll be there in 20 minutes." Aunt Pat's home was the antithesis of Sharon's, colorful, slightly cluttered, alive with art and the smell of coffee. She hugged me and said, "You're not a visitor, you're home." Then she got to work. She connected me with a financial aid advisor who helped me file for independent student status, a complex process that, with documentation of my effective homelessness, opened a floodgate of grants and need-based scholarships. Aunt Pat's network was formidable. She introduced me to a nonprofit that provided laptops and stipends for students in precarious situations. Within a month, I had a full financial package for school, independent of my father. Meanwhile, my father and Sharon were living in their assured victory. He texted once, "You can come back if you're ready to apologize to Sharon and follow the house rules." The audacity took my breath away. I didn't respond. The reckoning came when my father, assuming I was destitute and desperate, showed up at Pat's door 2 months later. He looked older. "I want to talk, to explain." Pat let him in, but stood like a sentinel in the archway to the living room. I stayed seated. "Amelia, this has gone on too long," he began, rubbing his hands. "It's time to come home." "I am home," I said. He blinked. "Don't be difficult. I know this is hard on Pat. You can't freeload forever." Aunt Pat snorted. "Freeload? She's the most financially literate teenager I know. She's covered her next semester. She's got a work-study job lined up. She's not costing me a dime she doesn't insist on paying back." My father's face went slack with confusion. "What? How?" "Scholarships, grants, the savings from the job you thought was a waste of time," I said. "You were supposed to be my safety net, but you cut the rope, so I learned to fly instead, or at least to build my own net." The conversation that followed was a study of crumbling defenses. He stammered about marital pressure, about wanting a quiet life, about how Sharon had convinced him this tough love would make me more responsible. "It did," I said. "It made me responsible for my own survival because you were irresponsible with your duty to protect me." He left defeated and shaken. The calls and texts that followed were tinged with a new tone, not authority, but a pleading guilt. I answered with polite, distant facts about my life. The power dynamic had permanently shifted. I thrived. I made the dean's list. I became a writing tutor. Aunt Pat cheered at every milestone, her pride a tangible, warming force. 2 years after my eviction, my father left Sharon. He showed up at my dorm, alone, and said therapy had helped him see the coward he'd been. He apologized, not as a parent demanding reinstatement, but as a man acknowledging a profound failure. "I believe you're sorry," I told him, "but sorry doesn't rebuild trust. That takes time and consistent action. And it doesn't change my history. I built a life without you. I'm not dismantling it to make you feel better." Today, we have a relationship. It's careful, boundaried, and on my terms. He knows Aunt Pat is my chosen parent, the one who showed up when the chips were down. He has to live with that. Sharon's scream to get out was meant to break me. Instead, it was the key that unlocked a door I'd been too afraid to open on my own, the one leading to my own strength, my own resources, and the fierce, loyal love of family that isn't defined by blood, but by action. My father's silence was the loudest lesson I ever learned. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop waiting for someone to speak up for you and become the person whose voice cannot be ignored.